Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salam ala Rasulillah amma ba'd. The question is asking here about short back and sides or shaving part of the head and letting some of it grow. The different hairstyles that we have today. What are the rulings on them and what are the Islamic guidelines? Now, in its asl, all hairstyles are permissible. In its asl, there is nothing which is prohibited. The Messenger of Allah in his Shama'il, it's been reported that he used to do sadl, which is basically he used to push all of his hair back, and this was the case in the Meccan period. And in the Madani period, he used to part it in the middle, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This for us shows that you can choose whatever hairstyle that you want. However, the ulama have mentioned that when he used to be in Mecca, he used to do that because he used to resemble those people who are from the people of the Kitab, not the people of Shirk. The people of Shirk, they used to do what is similar to a side parting, and they used to let it fall over their faces, over their foreheads. But the Messenger of Allah ﷺ used to comb it all the way back to be different from them. And then when he moved to Medina, he didn't want to be like the people of the Kitab. He wanted his own identity, so he parted it in the middle, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Whatever the case, we learn that it is permissible. But if there is imitation, وَمَنْ تَشَبَّهَ بِقَوْمٍ فَهُوَ مِنْهُمْ, whoever imitates a group of people, this is Hadith Abu Dawud, which is Sahih, then he is from them. With this we learn that in its asl, all haircuts are permissible as long as there is no imitation involved. Second condition though, is that the length must be the same or similar. The lengths must be the same or similar. Now the question is asking about qaza'. Qaza'. Now qaza' is where you shave part of the head and leave part of the head. And this is a hadith which occurs in Abu Dawud. The Messenger of Allah ﷺ saw a young man who had shaved part of his head and left part of it. And the Messenger of Allah ﷺ said to him, أو دعه كله. Either shave all of it or leave all of it. Meaning, it has to be one length. Also, we have a hadith of Ibn Umar in Bukhari and Muslim. The Messenger of Allah, Naha Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and qaza'. He forbade us from doing qaza'. Now, Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah mentions that qaza' could mean that a person leaves one part of his head or the other part of his head, the front of his head or the back of his head. And Shaykh Muhammad ibn Rahim adds to that, leaving the middle of his head. I mean, any part of the head which is shaved and the rest of it is not shaved, this is not permissible, and this is makruh with the ulama. Imam al-Nawawi says that there is ijma' on this. Why? Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah says that this is not adl. This is not just when a person looks at you and he sees you being loppy and one-sided, and he sees some of your hair being one way, another part of your hair being another way. It's not presentable, and it is not justice, and it is not the look of the believer. It is not the look of the believer. So what is the solution? The solution is that your hair has to be all one length or similar in its length throughout. Okay, what if a person says, okay, I'm not going to shave it, I'm going to fade it, I'm going to skin fade it. That's not using a razor, I'm going to shave it. The answer is still the same, because of the fact that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Ihluq kullu or da'an kullu." Either shave all of it or leave all of it, meaning make it one length. The ulama, the majority of ulama, have said that this is not qaza', because qaza' means to shave with a razor. However, it is still included in the prohibition, especially if it involves imitation. مَنْ تَشَبَّهَ بِقَوْمٍ فَهُوَ مِنْهُمْ. The questioner is asking here now, and this comes in, the answer is found in Sahih Bukhari. What about shaving or trimming the edges of the hair? You've got the sideburns and you've got the back line, you've got the neckline and things like that. What about if you have that a little bit shorter than the rest of the hair? Imam Bukhari has a chapter in his Sahih where he describes that is not part of what is included in the prohibition here. So that, inshallah, is permissible for a person to remove and have different, grades and different levels to the rest of his hair. As long as obviously it blends in and it is not obvious that a person has a big gap or, the size difference is considerably different from the rest of his hair. This bit here, the sideburns and the edging of the hair, that is only to make it presentable. If you were to have that as long as what would be at the top of your head, obviously there would be no point in a haircut. So the point here is that that lining there can be cut, and the tahdeed, the lines, are made obvious and clear. The barber will go through it with a razor, etc., to make it look nice and clean and fresh. Inshallah, there's no harm in that. As for the actual hair on your head, it has to be all similar in length or actual in length, either 1 all over, 2 all over, or 1 and 2, or 3 and 4, or something like that. As for having a big gap where a person shaves or a person has a fade or whatever it might be, then this is makruh, to say the least, and it could be haram if it involves imitation of those people who are not upon Islam, or a person wants to look like a particular look which is not an Islamic look. One last thing though, does this apply to the sisters? The answer is no. Women can have their hair at different lengths, and there is no harm in that. And the reason for that is that we have a narration in Sahih Muslim that after the Messenger of Allah ﷺ, they used to do wafra. Now wafra is that they used to cut their hair, and they used to have, I don't know, there's a word for it, but they used to have layers of different hair, and that basically meant that it was different lengths. And there is no prohibition in that, because this is what the wives of the Messenger of Allah ﷺ used to do. They used to do wafra. They used to cut their hair to their earlobes. They used to shorten their hair, and it used to be of different lengths with those layers. Therefore, the rule of it being one length or similar to one length applies to males, and this, like I said, is the view of the majority of the ulama, because of the hadith that we find in Bukhari and Muslim and Abu Dawood and Nasa'i and others. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He grants us tawfiq, and He gives us the best of appearance in the dunya and the best of appearance in the akhirah. Allahu a'lam, sallallahu ala nabiyyina Muhammad.